afternoon, everybody. Very glad to be here. So, as Lloyd said, I'm Aymeric. I work in Afghanistan. I'm the mill manager for the East region, but I'm actually also acting mill manager for the Southeast and acting mill coordinator since we have like some gaps in our mill position. I work with Première Urgence Internationale, which is like First Aid International. I've been working with them for 10 months, something like that. And I will present on remote monitoring as it is mentioned in the PPT and in the agenda, no surprise then. Yeah, so you can just see our areas of intervention here. Next slide, please. So, yeah, I was not expecting the PPT to be displayed in that big format. So it's very big font. Okay, so just for the context, the reason why we had to do some remote monitoring at some point, it's mainly because in Afghanistan we have a quite volatile security context. So you all know that. So it was the main reason why we had to do some remote monitoring. It was 3 years ago. It's no longer a problem right now. For weather issues as well, because of one of the province of the East region have really harsh winters, so we can't access the field all the time during the winter, and also because of COVID-19, even it's very few remote monitoring for that. So I will briefly I will briefly introduce you like 5 types of remote monitoring that we used to do on that time. And then I will focus on 3 to go a little bit further, deeper into detail. So the first one was the use of picture. So this is one of the methods that we mostly used, regardless of which actor we relied on for remote monitoring. So it was mainly used to monitor the progress of our construction and rehabilitation. Sorry, I just forgot what point is that. Première Urgence, we are working in health sector. So mainly we are implementing mobile clinics. We call it like MHT for mobile health team, sub-health centers. They are like health facility at the community level. And we have first aid trauma posts that are implemented in the health facility run by the BPHS implementer, which is like the National Health Service in Afghanistan. And we have fit therapeutic units in the district hospitals. So we do some construction and rehabilitation for our health sub-center, and to monitor the construction and the rehabilitation, we ask the people to send us pictures usually. We also ask pictures for the data sheets. Sometimes we are not able to travel to the field, so we can collect our register. So we ask the staff there to take picture of our register to send us data. And we have a coordination. So the picture of the data goes to the data entry officer, the picture of the rehabilitation go to the engineer in charge, etc., etc. Second mechanism we used to rely on was the coordination with the national implementer, so the BPHS implementer, which is still the National Health Service. So mainly for our first aid trauma post and therapeutic field units, we usually have at least one staff working in those facilities. So in order to monitor our activities, we relied on our staff because they were coming from the local communities, so it was more easy for them to access and to come back to our office rather than having our supervisor based in the capital to go to the field. And we also relied on the facility director. So usually the facility director used to send us picture of the register, of the data sheet, etc., etc., either by uploading that data to a drive or by sending that data through WhatsApp, depending on what was more comfortable for them and what kind of technology they master. The 3 last methods are the one I will focus on. The first one are the local committees. So usually when we open a new fixed health facility in one location, we set up, we set up what we call a L Shura, which is a local committee made by local elders, usually, to help us to monitor the activity and to liaise with the community. We also used to rely on what we call ALAF community focal point, which are like just focal point. So those ALAF community focal points were directly included at proposal stage, meaning that before implementing the activities, we hired those ALAF focal point in order to help us to monitor the activity. And the last kind of remote monitoring, if you can call it so, it's a remote survey. A quick view on the decision process. It was a very easy process. So in order to decide how to monitor the remote activities, what to monitor, what we should focus on, and who we should involve in that process. We used to have like two mechanisms. The first one was just an internal coordination. So meetings were held between head of base, the area coordinator, the project manager, the deputy project manager, to decide what would be the mechanism. And then it was validated by the project team and the local communities to make sure that the mechanisms are relevant, fits the culture, etc., etc. The other decision process was to directly include the remote monitoring at proposal stage. So discussing with the donor what could be done. It was the case for the recruitment of the ALAC community focal point. So we include them directly at proposal stage, and then we implement the remote monitoring. To talk about working with the first focus, which is working with the El Shura, we have like a short video of our BHA project manager, which is Dr. Moukabel Shah, who will explain you what we do.
Welcome colleagues, this is Dr. Moukabel Shah, the BHA project manager for PUI. As explained by our colleagues, that sometimes we conduct remote monitoring by the health shuras. The health shura, especially we ask them to monitor our construction and rehabilitation works. For this purpose, PUI explained all the BUQs in the national language and gave them, and as well as the responsible engineers and the responsible staff briefed them on the translated BUQs in terms of references. And as well as our supervisors or our engineers provided great for the accurate monitoring of all ongoing rehabilitations in construction defect. And as well as the health shura also provide us the pictures and photograph of all the rehabilitations in construction defects and sent to the engineering team. Secondly, the health shura helped us for the monitoring of drug stocks, with the already translated pharmaceutical management checklist with the help of health supervisors. And as well as lastly, the health shura also helped PUI to monitor the distribution of hygiene kits with the already available item list of the hygiene kits and as well as the eligible criteria. Finally, the health shura was responsible or in charge of centralizing all the feedbacks and complaints from the community and transfer them to the accountability teams and as well as response to the feedback providers when the telephone is not available to reach by the people. Thank you very much.
All right. So just to summarize, yes, the El Shuras helped us to monitor three activities and help us for the accountability mechanism. So they help us to monitor the construction and the rehabilitation. We translated them the bill of quantities and the term of references, and they had a grid, like a checklist that they can have a closely follow-up on the rehabilitation. They've been trained by our engineer to follow up on the rehabilitation before. They also help us to monitor the stock of drug, having, again, a checklist. They were working with our medical staff there, obviously, and help us to monitor the hygiene kit distribution as well, just to check on the quality of the process to make sure that the beneficiaries who received the hygiene kit were on the list, etc., etc. And yeah, and as mentioned, they were also our focal point for accountability purposes. For that, Next slide, please. So we have some positive point and some remaining challenges. So the positive point are, of course, a better inclusion of the communities and capacity building of the community members, since we trained them a bit on what they were supposed to do, and also a very good involvement of the committees, mainly because they were directly interested in the activities, of course. The remaining challenges are the following: of the lack of technical skills of the committee members, because even if we trained them, it was definitely not enough. It was not possible to get committees to monitor all activities, because it's sometimes a full-time job, and they have other stuff to do. And also the main problem, but it's just a cross-cutting problem, it's the phone coverage, because usually we have those activities in very remote areas, so it's not always easy to get coverage. Okay, next slide, please. Okay, the other process is that the ALA community focal point. I will try to explain a bit more what was that. So the ALA community focal point, we had an IOM project for which we knew that we would encounter difficulties in monitoring the situation on the ground, because it was either outreach or conflict areas. It was also difficult to send our accountability team. So it was decided to include, from the moment of the project proposal, the recruitment of focal points from the communities living in our area of intervention, mainly to monitor the evolution of the context, the arrival of new displaced people, disease outbreak when it was possible, and also to act as intermediaries between the organization and the communities to collect feedback and provide the answers of the organization to the feedback provider. So this focal point was selected by the community and validated by the organization. An incentive was provided to those ALA community focal points, because they were like kind of working for us. And to liaise with them, we had the ALA supervisor who was supposed to either meet them at some point in some city when it was possible, or just to liaise with them with phone call, etc. The positive point, it has been a mechanism validated at several stages, so we talk about that with donor. Then we do it internally in the organization. We validate that process with the local communities, so they decided who would be the community focal point, so it was quite well done. We were able to do a more regular monitoring, because they were like always there, so they were able to contact us all the time when like when any issue was coming out. We had again a better involvement of local community and a significant risk reduction for our staff. The remaining challenges, so still the phone coverage, of course, but also the risk that the focal point can act as gatekeeper, especially for the feedback of information and complaint to the organization. It was less the case with the community, local community, the El Shiraz, because there are more people. In this situation, we had only like one contact. So yeah, that's it. Just for you to know, regarding that problem of phone coverage, usually we manage to find solution, because the people living in outreach area knows where to go to get phone coverage. Or sometimes they use, when someone was going to a city, they used to take the phone, so to call them, to send us the picture, etc., etc. The reason why, it was mainly because they were afraid that we would collect GPS data that would be shared with the government, so they can use that GPS data to carry out strikes. This led us to set up two types of data collection, which are still in place today. Although access to the community has increased, has improved recently, mainly to carry out multisectoral need assessment. So the first way we used to remote survey, it's through phone calls. Of course, I'm sure that everybody here already did that. We did that for the PDM and satisfaction survey. So because when we have beneficiary coming to our health facility or benefiting from an hygiene kit, we collect contact information, so we are able to call them back. The positive point is that it's a very efficient and effective way to survey people. And since we have a lot of PDM and satisfaction survey to carry out with a few resources, it has become like the best way we have to collect data in terms of like report production and survey production. But we have like some strong challenges. The first one is that women usually don't have access to phones, which is like a big problem because most of our activities are for women, like 70% of our beneficiaries are women. So it's kind of an issue, even if most of the time we manage to explain the respondent, which is brother, husband, father, that we want to talk to that person, which is a woman, because we need to have her feedback on the service that she got, etc., etc. It might still be a problem. And the other way we had to collect data when it was not possible for our team to go directly at within the communities was to survey at the health facility level. So we have like service delivery points, either for our health subcenter or for our MHTs, like mobile clinics. So we used to send the team there mainly for baseline and line cap survey or for multi-sectoral need assessment. So yeah, the M&E team was usually going to the field with the project team, which was like a very good practice actually, because the positive point is that they have a better acceptance from the community because they were coming with the project team, so the community was like quite aware of what PY was doing in that area. And also, a very good point is that this is the better way we have to survey women, because 90% of the people who came to our mobile clinic are women, so it's very easy to reach out to women in that way. Okay. And the remaining challenges are that the selection of the respondent is very difficult to do randomly, so that leads to many bias, unfortunately. Bias in the sampling method, in the selection of the beneficiary, etc., etc. And also the other problem that we have is that it's not possible to survey where no activities have started. And so to define a baseline or to carry out a need assessment where we don't have activities, it's super complicated. So recently we managed to get authorization to survey a location where we are not implementing activities yet. So it's a good change, but we don't know if it will be like that again.